Do you like toys? Big Bad Toy Store has toys. If you click the link in the description below and give them money, you too can have toys. Now watch my video. Hello and welcome to VR Reviews October of Terror. Today we'll be reviewing the Creatureplica Horrorhound. So yes, here we have my first and only Creatureplica figure at the moment. This one is the Horrorhound, which is a mascot for a magazine of the same name. Creatureplica is basically a line of cryptid figures, and they're of a very similar quality to things like NECA and Diamond Select, but unfortunately they do cost more than normal, so they're a bit hard to recommend, but if you can find them for a discounted price, I think they are something worth looking into. Alright, starting off with a quick size comparison. Of course, here we have our Horrorhound. Here's our standard Marvel Legends 6-inch Cosmic Armor Iron Man and 3 3/4-inch Marvel Universe Wolverine. The Horrorhound is a fairly big figure, but you can certainly use him for 6-inch figures as he is sort of a monster and they can just be however big you want monsters to be, pretty much. He is noticeably taller than an American 6-inch scale figure, and he is also hunched over. You can straighten him up, but he's not good at standing up whenever he's fully straightened out. But if you want him to be even taller, you can certainly do that. And of course, he's way bigger than a 3 3/4-inch figure. Now let's get everything else out of here and just look at our Horrorhound. Moving on to our 360 spin, as you can see, the bulk of the Horrorhound's body is brown. Some of the brown spots are fur textured, but most of the things that are fur textured are black and are on the back or in little tufts on his forearms. Pretty much his entire lower legs are fur textured, but they're basically the same color as the skin parts. They really didn't do a lot to differentiate between the skin and fur parts on this particular figure. He has various spaces where his limbs have been stapled together in a kind of Frankenstein sort of way, and he has various points of gore, especially on the chest. His entire stomach is pretty much ripped out, and he has holes in his chest, which are either gunshot wounds or he is a Fist of the North Star character. And all of the gore stuff is done really well, and overall he is just a really cool looking horror gory monster figure, and I have no massive complaints. Head sculpt wise, the detail is really nice and follows the same scheme as the rest of the figure. He is missing lips, so his teeth are fully exposed and you get some gore around the edges. He has some nice milky yellow eyes. Staples across the forehead. He has his black hair across the back of his head and some big gnarly looking ears. All in all, really excellent detail, nothing to complain about there. Articulation wise, the Horrorhound is decent but nothing special. Ball peg in the head, so that moves around, up and down. Ball joint shoulders go in and out, forward and back. Bicep cut. Single joint elbow. Hinge and rotation in the wrist. You get a bit of a diaphragm joint, but you don't get a lot of motion out of it. Waist cut. Hips go in and out. Forward and back. Thigh cut. Single jointed knees, but they do bend fairly far. Hinge at the digit grade ankle sort of area. And hinge and rotation in the foot. So you should be able to get him into a reasonable amount of intimidating kind of poses. Accessories wise, the only thing you get is the base. It's a sort of rocky dirt grass kind of base. It has 3 foot pegs on it, and it has a big tombstone on it with a skull on it, some moon symbology, and the name Warren. I'm not sure if that's meant to be a reference to something specific, so I'm going to assume it's a reference to Warren Zevon, because he sung Werewolves of London. Packaging-wise, you get a pretty standard sort of large clamshell kind of packaging. Creatureplica logo across the back, Horrorhound across the bottom, of course big window to display the figure, and on the back you get a big description and some other figures that are available: the Yeti, the Sasquatch, the Horrorhound, and the Rougarou. I'm not necessarily interested in getting any of the other ones, but I'm sure they're of equal quality to this one. As is generally the case, these are good for in or out of package display, and that about wraps it up for our Horrorhound. So until next time, goodbye!